Kicks Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. The back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the Cincinnati Bearcats all throughout the college football season. We'll see how they fare against a very tough schedule this fall. I'm, of course, your host, Russ Eltman, and we are diving into the scrimmage recap from this past weekend. Neil has some comments from Tuesday's practice as well, as we sit now less than 3 weeks away from the start of the 2026 season. How is the team looking? We will dive into all of that and then get to some bad news on the back end of this show. MJ Collins may not be playing for the Cincinnati Bearcats after all, in what would be a brutal blow to the ceiling for Jared Calhoun's first team at Cincinnati. We'll get to the latest on that court litigation between the NCAA and the class of 2022 on this episode as well. We're presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the Bearcats to make the college football playoff and win the Big 12. They're going to have to win the Big 12 essentially to make the college football playoff, unless this entire league is way better this season than most people anticipate. Cincinnati sitting at 80-1 on the odds board, tied with Colorado for the second worst odds to win the Big 12 this coming season. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook to get in on all the action. WNBA, PGA Tour, UFC, and MLB holding things over until college football kicks off officially during week 0 on, I believe, August 27th, the last week of August. Almost here, about 10 days away, less than 10 days away from the start of college football season. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Coming at you after these messages. Neil Meyer of the Front Office News. Joining me now, Russ Eltman from Cincinnati Bearcats on SI, as we have the dog days of camp upon us here. And Cincinnati, Neil, just went through its first scrimmage this past weekend. I'll go ahead and tell everybody about the scrimmage. You can touch on Tuesday's practice. Not great for the offense this past weekend. It sounds like the offense continued to struggle today from the short nuggets I got from Neil out of this morning's practice. J.C. French threw multiple turnover-worthy passes, had an interception on the day, had another interception dropped. I mean, nobody really stood out to me offensively, and it seems like this season it may have to be a complete flip of the script for Cincinnati compared to last year, when that defense was bottom 30 nationally in overall stop rate. I think it'll be much better this season. The defense looks way, way better. MJ Cannon commented on how there's a 7-turnover mentality after the scrimmage. They're trying to find 7 types of turnovers, whether it be turnover on downs, actual turnovers, fumble recoveries, interceptions, or just stalls in the red zone and stuff like that. It's going to, in my opinion, have to be pretty defense-driven because, yes, J.C. French had a very good spring, but, Neil, I haven't seen much to impress me from J.C. consistently over the past couple of weeks. We haven't been at every practice. I haven't been able to get to the majority of them, honestly, but from what I've seen, it's going to be a pretty precipitous fall off in quarterback play this coming season compared to Brendan Sorsby in the top 15 production he had last season.
Yeah, Russ, and when you look back at the comments from the scrimmage on Saturday, I know you mentioned a lot of great things there, but when you look forward to, it's not ideal for Cincinnati right now to be going through these fall practices. And you, most times when you go through this fall camp, let's reiterate the fact that your defense is supposed to be winning these matchups for
early on, Neil.
Not early on, but
not at this point. The offense is fully settled in, and they should be
once you get
going
to this
more
mark,
back and forth than they are.
Yeah, once you get to this mark where we're at, you would like to see some continuity from the offense to put these good days ahead. And now, don't get me wrong, Russ, they've had their moments, right? A lot of big holes in the run game. But in terms of the wide receivers stepping up, we heard a lot about them. We saw a lot from those guys throughout the spring. Haven't seen much in recent days that gives you that hope of, hey, we
Do
can
we
throw
have
this
a wide
ball.
receiver one that you and I can confidently point out right now? Who is that guy?
After spring ball, I would have looked and I would have said it's JV Gibson. But right now, I don't know, Russ. I don't know. To be brutally honest, I
That
don't know.
echoes what Scott
Geocontosis.
Satterfield's felt over the past few comments that
Mm-hmm.
did that come up again today? Because it's been asked for
Mm-hmm.
Scott basically every single time he's been
Yep,
on the
it
mic.
was asked again today, and we asked about the rotation and what he needs to see from those guys. And he's mentioned some guys have had good days, and then they come in and they think they're right where they want to be, and then one bad day it moves around the depth chart and whatnot. He mentioned the consistency from guys like Cade Wolford and Gio Contosis. Gio Contosis had another great touchdown catch today. He's continued off to be his great spring. But Russ, if it's right now, to me, for me personally, I've checked out 5 practices now. That's arguably your wide receiver one is the true sophomore Gio Contosis, JV Gibson, not far behind, but those are the 2 guys who are consistently probably going to see majority of the targets there at that wide receiver position. Now, Cade Wolford, like I mentioned, he's your Swiss Army knife. You're going to use him in multiple different ways. And for Cincinnati, they just got to get the ball to him in space. That's how they're going to want to have to get Cade Wolford going in terms of the special teams as well. But Russ, I haven't really liked what I've seen in the passing game, but I have been very, very impressed with what I have seen in the run game. Gibran Payne has Russ. I mean, he looks completely healthy, and this was the guy that people expected him to be at Notre Dame, who just battled those injuries, right? I mean, he looks to be in great, great shape. Cole Tab's also healthy. Xylon Perry's healthy in the mix. Zion Johnson as well. But for me right now, the biggest takeaway is who's going to be that starting back. And for me right now, confidently, I would have to say it's Gibran Payne. I mean, he looked like he has had a great spring. I mean, Russ, I heard from Jay Smith of the front office news. He told me there was a point in Saturday where Gibran was just pushing the tempo 6-7 yards a carry. That's what you want for Cincinnati. But he's going to be a guy that's going to have to get 15 to 20 touches a game. And since Cincinnati's going to want to move the ball downfield and move the sticks.
What we say, Neil, 65% run, 60,
It's
65.
going to be a heavy run offense.
You might be needing to put a 7 in front of that number to confidently achieve your winning ways as much as possible. Because, like I said, I think it's. What do you think? I think it's going to have to be a complete flip of last season.
Complete flip.
You're going to have to try to dominate time of possession. You're going to have to try to be as aggressive as possible defensively. And you're just going to have to try to get the variance to go your way while on the offensive side of the ball, limiting variance as much as possible, keeping J.C. French a game manager here, limiting his downfield attempts. I mean, Neil, some of these passes downfield have been rough.
There was one today that was pretty rough.
And if you have 2 of those a game, like we've seen what happens to teams that lose the turnover battle. You're 80% losing rate. Right. You're going to lose 80% of your games if you lose the turnover battle. So I think you just try to keep the ball out of the quarterback's hands as much as possible at this point from what we've seen, and you lean into the strength that I would agree with you on is the rushing attack and that offensive line. And I think 65% run is going to be the mantra for this offense and getting as many touches to all 4 of those running backs as possible, and then trying to probably limit J.C. French and his rushing ability as much as you can, because behind J.C. French, it's not like J.C. French has played bad and somebody else is pushing him right now. That's not really happening.
Yeah, and when you look down too, Russ, I know I was actually talking to a couple guys up at practice today. If something were to happen for J.C. French, it's going to be a big drop off, right? I mean, Liam O'Brien or Samaj Jones right now, it's a back and forth battle, but I'd have to say Liam O'Brien has probably solidified that quarterback 2 position. And for Cincinnati, you got to rely on the run game. You have to. You have 4 bell cow backs who do a lot of different things in terms of their skill set. But with an offensive line that talented, and Russ, there's been some pretty big holes that they have been able to open up. But there's also been times where the holes have been small and the running back's still able to get through. So for Cincinnati, I think you just got to rely on the run game. And if they want to take the shots downfield, you can't go over 15, 20 yards if you had to imagine. You got to keep everything intermediate to short game, and then you let your running backs go to work. I think we are going to see an offense where Nick Cardwell and Pete Thomas are going to rely on that rushing attack. Rely on your big guys up front. Evan Tangasol, Joe Cotton, Terrence Io, Judea Milan, and whoever else might be out there in terms of that fifth spot.
Lozowicki,
But
he's kind of consistently been out there
Lozowicki
at
was
right
with the
guard.
ones again today. So when you look down, I think personally, Russ, if they're going to want to move the chains and win some ball games, and like you mentioned, they're going to have to win the time of possession. They're going to have to run the football extensively. They're going to
After
have to
being the
keep
worst time of possession team in the nation last year by a full minute, which is
Mhm.
astounding. But I mean, yeah, you say those the big holes. My question there, not to be Debbie Downer here throughout this whole episode, but how good is this defensive line? Is the defensive
And then
line,
there
you
was a
could
lot
make
of
an
questions
argument,
on
is
that.
the weakest position group on the entire defense. So, what do you think, Neil?
Yeah, in terms of the defensive line, we actually asked Coach Satterfield this afternoon on what position group would he like to see kind of may still need to be some reassessing and what he thinks might need to be some improved in it. And it's the defensive line. Like you mentioned, you're not going to be able to replace a guy like Dante Corleone just at the snap of your
And
fingers. You're
Jalen Hunt
not.
as well.
Yeah. And both of those guys, extensive careers, right? Jalen Hunt overcame the knee injuries. He's now fighting for a practice squad spot down in Jacksonville, or might even find his way onto the active 53 man, but for sure a practice squad spot. So you're losing a lot of veteran reps there. Now it's these younger guys are going to have to step up. Marquez Parker has had a fantastic fall camp. He's looked to be that leader in that room, but then you have Nathaniel Nunn right there as well. You have Josh Huff, the former running back. He's kind of had some good days, but you would like to see a little bit more in terms of the front there. And then it's going to be a matter of fact with these edge rushers on who's going to be those other guys. Antoine Peaks look good at that cap position, but who else are going to be these guys? Brian Sims is going to have to step in, get some pressure. Pat Bauer, they're going to have to step in some ways and move these linebackers around. But Russ, while we're talking about the defense, the one position I am excited about, obviously, the defensive line. Everybody knows you still got some things to work on and figure out there, but that linebacker room is going to be having to play some big roles for Cincinnati's defense. We've talked about guys like Jonathan Thompson. We've talked about Antoine Peak, Simeon Coleman, Monte Whedon, but the guy that's really stuck out to me has been Jermaine Wilson. That's been the guy that's really stuck out to me. He's been working with the starters as of late. He's been making some good plays. 6'4", 240 pounds, moves very well. Philip Makarowski as well. So really excited to see what those two guys do at linebackers. But those are two names Cincinnati guys to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, I think this team, it's not like the talent acquisition staff, I think, isn't understanding all this. Like they built the roster in anticipation, in my eyes, Neil, of the quarterback play falling off, of the defensive line taking a step back. Because you bring in guys like MJ Cannon, you bring in guys like Kenny Worthy, who's been the star of camp so far and has had multiple interceptions throughout the entire run. You bring in the howitzers like Philip Maskarowski and all those guys. You change Antoine Peak from a safety where he would have been kind of stacking talents at that position. You take him out of that position. You got Jasper Beal or MJ Cannon there. You make Antoine Peak and you turn him from you take your best graded Pro Football Focus defender last year, you put him closer to the line of scrimmage. So I think they have anticipated all this. They're doing the best they can. We'll see if the best that they can do is going to end up being another bowl trip this coming season. We'll get to our season long predictions in just a few shows from now. But taking a quick break and getting to the back half of things on this episode of Bearcat Blitz presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the Bearcats to go over their season win total this coming season on FanDuel Sportsbook. Everything live right now. And Cincinnati holding firm right on that bowl cut line at 5.5 wins. And the betting public firmly believes this will be a bowlless season for the Bearcats. Minus 164 juice to go under 5.5 wins, plus 134 to go over 5.5. This thing is just a few big bets away from turning from 5.5 to a 4.5 win total, just based on how these markets move in general. They're not going to let this get the minus 200 on one end before shifting it down a win. So unfortunate to see that number there for Bearcats fans, I'm sure. But if you want to test your luck and see if and you're confident that they will go bowling in back-to-back seasons, you can take that plus money at plus 134 on FanDuel Sportsbook, the great presenting sponsor of Bearcat Blitz. Getting to the unfortunate news surrounding MJ Collins. It's not all she wrote, but a big blow to the class of 2022 trying to get an extra season. Coming up after these messages on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Back half of the show coming at you on the Believe Network. This is Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm your host, Russ Heltman from Cincinnati Bearcats on SI, and joined by my co-host, Neil Meyer from the frontofficenews.com. Neil, we've been anticipating MJ Collins being a Bearcat for months now. It seemed like the courts were leaning the Bearcats, the class of 2022's way, but a big blow this past Tuesday, and we'll see if it's exclamation pointed by or stamped home by a final blow in the Colorado case. The Ohio Court of Appeals has granted the NCAA's motion to stay the injunction granted in Borovichainen versus NCAA, stopping the injunction from taking effect until the appeal is resolved. Now, what that means, Neil, is if a stay is granted in Colorado as well, where this other case is being tried, then every class of 2022 player immediately becomes ineligible until the appeals are heard. The case goes through the full court system. Who knows how long that could take? And for these schools, they don't have, like, school starts next week. Players are getting enrolled now. Like, you can't, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil, you can't just enroll mid-semester and join the team, I don't think. So once we get the word on this Colorado stay, which I would imagine will come down sometime this week or next week, given the timeline for enrolling in first semester business, then that's basically all she wrote for these players being able to get into the action, unless they try to get onto the team in the second half of the season in the second semester. That seems like just a massive headache and a massive amount of hoops to jump through on that end. And as we sit here now, Neil, Cincinnati could have two wide open roster spots that they don't even fill this coming season.
Yeah, and Russ, when you look down at this situation, right, we were talking about it maybe 2 weeks ago that courts were looking to rule in favor of the class of 2022. Ohio was the first state to grant that injunction. Now they go back on it, and some of the players that are listed in this injunction, MJ Collins, Cincinnati, Philip Borovichian, Xavier, Colby King, Eric Mahaffey, or the Mahaffey brother, the older Mahaffey brother of
not the one the one already on their SSA roster, good to go. He will be playing this season.
The older Mahaffey brother. So there's 4 of the 13 that I just listed. But Russ, when you look down at the end of this, right, the fact that it's going to come down to what this Colorado stay and that case might be like, it's safe to say with classes starting next week, these guys have already been enrolled on campus, right? Cincinnati just got back from the Bahamas. They went to the Bahamas at the beginning of August. These guys have already been on campus since arguably early spring. Early spring, June, late May, early June. So these guys are probably already enrolled in some of these summer classes as well. People forget about that option. Yes, you're looking at this upcoming semester that kicks off next week. However, these guys have already been enrolled in some of these classes. So some of these guys are already maybe halfway through a graduate year of school. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. But you can't just add a guy beginning of January and say, hey, come play the conference slate with us. Or halfway through November and say, hey, we got a game tomorrow. Come suit up. We got a scholarship for you. That's not how this thing goes. And Russ, if I had to imagine the outcome of this case in Colorado, no matter what, the NCAA is going to be smacked with another lawsuit, if I had to imagine. Not sure what angle it's coming from, whether that's the players.
Well, it wouldn't matter, though, because the timeline, it's finite. Like, it's 5 and 5. Once we hit May 2027, their 5 is completely gone, no matter the rules. So that wouldn't matter. The lawsuit, all the litigation, essentially, Neil, has to get, from my understanding, has to get settled before Labor Day, essentially.
Right, and it's kind of hard to unwind all those things in a week and a half of time. So for me right now, Russ, we knew something like this could dwindle out and say, hey, we might have an update on this, or this could be the way they were swaying. But from what it was sounding like about a week and a half ago, they were swaying as MJ Collins is going to be rocking a Bearcat uniform, potentially being your starting point guard. And now we're back up in the air of everything in flux. Now, we don't have a definitive answer from sources within the program of, hey, how is Cincinnati handling this? But Russ, right now, if you're Cincinnati and Jared Calhoun, how do you operate moving forward? Do you still operate with MJ Collins moving forward and knowing he's at?
Yeah, I guess you practice him. I would practice him until the
or do you
lady
have
sings
to
here.
Start getting some of these younger guys in, and you do a lot of focusing on different reps? It's going to be interesting. But Russ, it's safe to say we're going to have an update on this, presumably by maybe the end of this week or presumably next week at some point, because safe to say they're going to want to get this thing done before September, because September comes your 4 weeks of workouts. October, you have your exhibitions, and we're right into the heart of basketball season after that.
Yeah, it was busier on campus than ever today, Neil. The kids are moving in. Kids
have been moving in all week.
Right.
I'll tell you right now, Russ, that line to get into practice, that parking garage for practice today was about 15-minute wait. So these guys are moving in, and Cincinnati's expecting a near 52,000 kids enrolled this upcoming year. Things are moving at a fast pace. So the NCAA, the sooner the better on a explanation in this case. But Russ, let's just be blunt and honest here. You already gave the injunction. Just go forward with it. Save the hassle. Go forward with it. You make your mind up on one thing, just move with it. Get it over with. Right? Why cause another hassle and saying, oh yeah, we can make these kids play. We make these kids eligible. We get 2 months in. Oh, nope, we're going to make them ineligible again. Make up your mind, NCAA. It's either you're going to make it stern clear on the 5-for-5 starts with the 2022 class, or it starts the 2023 class. Make up your mind. I don't think it's that hard of a decision.
Yeah, from what I've tried to research, there's no date for when this Wisney stay request by the NCAA is going to be decided. So we'll see if that's this week. We'll see if that's next week. But you'd imagine it has to come down pretty quickly, because the one for Cincinnati, not the one for Cincinnati, one for Ohio, I think they started that case, 2 weeks before the Colorado case got brought up. So maybe that's the timeline we're looking at here.
The Ohio case was the first one that got brought up.
Right.
I'm fairly certain, Russ, that was first week of June.
Yeah. So as of now, MJ Collins still eligible. We'll see what happens on that front. And then it doesn't necessarily mean that this judge in Colorado is going to look at this stay getting granted and automatically do that for his case or their case, or I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. But according to the NCAA, big win for them. Quote, the NCAA argued and the Ohio Court of Appeals agreed. The injunction harms thousands of college athletes and member schools across Division I who are playing by the rules. The new model is clear. It ensures college sports are played by college students while allowing opportunities for future generations of students to access the life-changing benefits of college sports participation. We appreciate the court's recognition of the harm caused by the injunction and the substantial arguments we have presented in favor of reversal, and we look forward to fully arguing the merits of the case in the future. So a win for the NCAA to start the week in court. We'll see if that leads to another win for them in Colorado and ultimately bars Cincinnati from being able to play MJ Collins until the full appeal is heard, which, it's not going to get heard in the next week and a half to 2 weeks. I would imagine that would be pretty shocking if that were the case. We'll keep you updated here on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Have a great week, everybody.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. Has caught.